And we are live. I'm gonna wait until some people come. Sorry, my mic was off. All right, so we have a viewer, so I'm gonna be talking about something. So in this live stream, you're probably wondering, Nicholas, you don't usually do live streams on YouTube, so why are you doing a live stream today? Well, here's the thing. By the title of this video, you technically can tell that it's an update of why I haven't been posting for the last 2 days. And it's not really an update, but it's more like um, more of you'll see. But the reason why I haven't been posting the last 2 days is because on Friday, before I went to go see F9 in the theater, I got my second dose of the COVID vaccine, and technically, I thought it would be much different. But it like I thought it would be the same as the first COVID vaccine that I got, and it wasn't. It was a lot tougher because I kind of got chills. I was feeling weak, and I had a hard time sleeping. So it was not the best 2 days. Those types for me, but I'm glad that I actually get to come on here and talk to you guys about what's been happening. So, basically, what this live stream is going to be about is it's not just to hang out with you guys, it's also to cover the videos that I couldn't do the past 2 days. Because if you think I didn't want to do them, of course I wanted to. But there was something I really wish I could have done it, but I just felt too sick to do it. So we're gonna get started with that now. But before we get started, I'm going to leave the chapter. I'm gonna edit the video for chapter markers. So let me just make sure of that. Let me make. Well, actually, I gotta make content chapters. Then the intro. Okay. So we're going to be talking. So the first, we have a couple of categories that we're going to be talking about today. The first thing is we're going to be talking about the Disney animated movies that I wasn't able to talk about in my Peter Pan review, because if you know me, as I'm doing these movie series, I'm not particularly. I want to review movies that I have watched, because with some movie franchises, it's kind of weird the way I watch movies. So that's just the way I'm doing it. And then I'll be reviewing Good on Paper, which is a movie I was supposed to review this past week. And then I'm also going to review F9, then do my Furious ranking to see where F9 fits in the ranking. Then I'm going to do the Ice Road review, then the Danger Force review, and then false positive review. So we have a couple of things to do, but before we get started talking about the Disney animated movies, I know I've talked about them before, but it really would make sense if I just reviewed them in this stream. But let me just make the content chapter for it. All right, so 425 Disney movie reviews. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is the movies that I gave scores to besides Peter Pan in that review. I'm going to be talking about those. So we're going to start off with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and personally for me, I love Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's a fantastic film with great characters, some pretty good animation, great songs, And it's just overall a great film. Do I think it's an all time favorite? No, I don't think it's that. Um, because I think the story is very simple. That's what it really is. The story is very simple. It's one of the most simplest plots that Disney has ever made. And then, of course, Uh, Evil Queen is, of course, a fantastic villain. Uh, I don't know. There's some part of it that I wish we could have done bigger because she's such like a powerful person. It seems like you could have done so much better with her, but I still thought she was an amazing villain. And then, of course, the Seven Dwarfs. They're such likable characters. So it really just has a lot of stuff I love about Disney animation. All right, next up we have Pinocchio. And for me, Pinocchio is another loved Disney film. It's definitely on par with Snow White. Just the character of Pinocchio is just so sweet and charming as he does these things that are just so funny. It's kind of like Shazam, where in Shazam the kid becomes a superhero and he does all these creative and funny things with his superpowers, which is just so cool. And in Pinocchio, you have Pinocchio that's doing all these funny things and just all these weird and funny things. Like it's just so funny. And as he's questioning like life and stuff like that. And then of course the characters and the songs and the animation is all really good. From the characters, like all the characters are just so interesting, and but also I don't think it's another top favorite because the scene where Pinocchio is drinking and smoking and playing pool, that scene I just never bought into that. That was a scene that I just never really enjoyed. I just found it disturbing. Now, if you really think about it, you have to know that when Pinocchio came out, it was basically what it was is that when this movie was made, people didn't know how smoking and alcohol would affect kids or anyone for that matter. So you can't really blame Disney for doing that because that's what they wanted to do in the movie. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. Um, Next up, we are going to be talking about Fantasia, and for me, this is not one of the best Disney films. Now, I can understand why everybody loves it. The animation and music and everything about the film is pretty much great for all of you. And of course, I agree with the animation and music. But besides the Sorcerer's Apprentice with Mickey Mouse, besides the scene with the Sorcerer's Apprentice and with Mickey Mouse, there's nothing in this film that really captures it. There's none of the other shorts in the movie really capture my emotions, and that's why it's a little bit low. It's actually lower on my list of Disney films. But I mean, like I said, still great animation, still fantastic music, but at the same time, it's just one of the more boring films for me of Disney. And then Dumbo, one of the most freshest Disney films. So I watched it a couple years ago, but when I rewatched it, like when I saw it for the first time, I didn't love it, but I was like, this is cute and all, but this isn't my favorite. And then I saw it the second time. I feel like I liked it a little bit less. And the times I've watched it in the past, like a couple years ago, that was before I actually was like becoming a critic of movies. So just to let you know that. But I rewatched it back in May because I was doing that whole Disney Plus thing where I was going to review, um, like I was going to try to watch everything Disney Plus has to offer, which I know that's impossible because they're adding things left and right. They're never going to stop. I honestly really enjoyed the film, and I feel like what made me like it more was the relationship between Dumbo and Timothy the Mouse. I don't know what it was, but I just love the relationship. But also, the emotions in the movie just feel so real. As like when Dumbo is crying, you feel the emotions as it just looks so cute, but also sad at the same time. And then when Mrs. Jumbo is cradling Dumbo in her trunk, like you feel the emotion, and it's just so cute. But then also, um, You just also have some great and then as a Disney animated movie, you have that creative animation style with like the pink elephant sequence, which technically results in Dumbo drinking, which doesn't really bother me that much because it creates a pretty cool animations bit. But overall, it's just a film that does a lot of the great things, and I personally love it. I know it's technically one of the more shorter films, like it's like 1 hour and 3 minutes, but that doesn't change the fact that I still love it. All right, next up, we're going to talk about Bambi. And Bambi, it's a good movie. The animation is just so good. There's literally multiple times in the movie where I was like, this literally looks like a painting coming to life. And it's like, it's so creative in the way it does it. And then, of course, you got the characters and like, but also going back to the animation, there's literally like a scene where it's raining out there, and you have like this song that plays throughout the animation while it's raining, and it's really cool the way they do the animation and the music, and also the characters. They're cute and funny and all around great, and they have some iconic lines as you watch the movie with, especially Thumper. I thought that he did the best lines of the entire film. But of the films, I would say this is actually one of the more weaker ones because now it's a good movie. I'm not saying I don't like it or anything. It's a good movie, but I have to say this: the story is a bit clunky. It's not. It's kind of. It's a bit. You don't really understand the story. I mean, I like the characters, like the animation, and then it has like this story about Bambi's dad being the prince of the forest, which just does not make sense. But overall, I enjoyed the movie, but it is a bit weaker on the good side. All right, now we're gonna go into the wartime era, and if you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of these films. I'm not. It's just these films are not good. Well, I mean, some of them are enjoyable, but that doesn't mean I like them. So we're gonna talk about Saludos Amigos first, and Saludos Amigos. No, I do not like that movie. It's definitely my least favorite film of all Disney movies. I believe it's one of my least favorite movies of all time, actually. And I say least because I don't like referring to worst movies because for the movies that I hate, there's probably worse movies than that. Um, but I thought that the movie, but like when I first watched it, I was like, this is cool, exploring South Americans and then having like the Disney animation style with Donald Duck and stuff. Like that's fun, that's cool. But when you kind of got to the end, when you kind of get into the movie, it tries to be a documentary and an animated film all in one, which doesn't make sense to me. And then of course, like the scenes with Donald Duck is not even enjoyable. Granted, it does kind of give some good teases for the Three Caballeros, but other than that, this is easily my least favorite of the Disney animated films. Now we're coming to the Three Caballeros, which I just mentioned. And to me, I like the Three Caballeros. I think it's a fun movie. It's not fantastic, but it's still good. Well, I mean, it's not good, but it's probably one of the more better ones of these films. Uh, I thought that the way I thought it was a lot more fun with these group of characters, and I also liked how we got to explore Christmas in Mexico, where it's not just about jingle bells and stuff like that, but also, it they don't really know what to do in the end, so they just have Donald Duck chasing South American women, which is just out of the blue. But overall, I did enjoy it. All right, the next film is going to be Make My Music, but I can't talk about it because I haven't seen it, and I don't think I ever will because it's not available on Disney Plus, and I don't think it would ever be on Disney Plus. So sorry, but we're gonna have to skip it. But the next movie I'm going to talk about is Fun and Fancy Free, and this is a movie that I actually enjoy. The two shorts, the bear short where he escapes from the circus, and he falls in love with another bear and joins this bear family. It's pretty enjoyable. I feel like it went on a little bit too long once he fell in love. And then the Mickey and the Beanstalk short, I of course enjoyed. But like I said, They're not fantastic shorts. They're just right there in the middle. And then we have Melody Time. This is basically Disney kind of going back to its original formula, where because the wartime era is basically for films that are government sanctioned, they what they wanted to do was was that because these films came out in the 1940s, so they had to make. But basically, what they had to do was the government wanted Walt to make films that were sort of government related, and that's what they did. And I feel like that this is probably one of the only Disney movies that does what the Golden Age did, where they kind of Melancholy is basically a rehash of what is it of Fantasia. That's basically what it is, except the scenes aren't as good as Fantasia, but still, the scenes are just weird. The story just does not make sense to me. But there are some pretty good music, but I do not like this movie at all. And then we have The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Pretty watchable film, but like with Fun and Fancy Free, I enjoyed both stories. Mr. Toad's story I thought was a bit too long. I thought it was a bit too short, but then Mr. Ichabod's story was a bit too long. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. And then Cinderella, great start to the Silver Age. Really enjoy it. The characters, the songs, the story, it's just engaging. So it's cute and it's just heartwarming. Alice in Wonderland, another classic, but it's definitely not my favorite of the films. Now, when I was watching it in honor of Alice in Wonderland 2010, because I was doing my new Lawn series back in November of 2020, I saw the movie when I was watching the movie. Alice was talking about like the idea of Wonderland, and to me, like I was kind of getting excited and like, so Disney is creating something so fresh and new. This is gonna be awesome. But when I watched it, it wasn't really that at all. It was kind of boring. Characters are pretty fun, but other than that, there's not much in this film that I enjoyed all that much. All right, so that's it for the Disney reviews. Now we're going to talk about good on paper. Just let me. All right. Good on paper review. All right, so good on paper. Ooh, sorry, don't think my computer clicked, but I didn't get exit out or anything. So good on paper is the newest Netflix film that came out on Netflix this weekend, of course, like I just said, and this is basically a movie about a stand-up comedy person, a girl that does stand-up comedy, and I thought that it kind of worked. It told a story that was kind of generic. It told a story that was pretty good, but to be honest with you, I was just kind of mixed because I felt like throughout the whole movie I was just watching people curse and scream. That's what I felt like watching this movie. So it was a very weird experience watching this movie, but I still enjoyed it because it's not like a film that has a story that's inspirational for you to become a stand-up comedy guy or person. It's not like that. It's just a film that talks about people that are stand-up comedy people. But that's what I got from this film. All right, so the next topic on this video is going to be talking about F9. So let me just make the chapter marker for that, and we will get started from there. F9 review. All right, so if you go see my schedule for the past week that I did for this past week, You can definitely tell that the F9 ranking and the Fast and Furious ranking was not going to be coming. Like, it's not in that list. And the reason for that was because F9 came out only in the theaters. It didn't come out on HBO Max or any other streaming service that I have. It just came out in theaters like a normal movie would. So I didn't know if I was gonna go see it on that day, but I did, and I have some thoughts on it. First off, the the use of cars, the way they did the car stunts and the action sequences, they're just phenomenal. And I want to talk about the action sequences first. The action sequences, oh my gosh, guys, all of them are so creative and so fun. Like, there's literally a sequence, like the way the action sequences are shot, like the places that they're fighting, they look great in the way that they're getting destroyed. Like when that fight happens in the jungle, like it looks so cool because you get to see everything happening as like there's dirt shooting up in there because they're shooting bullets in the dust. But then you also have creative action sequences, which for me these are the two standouts. When Letty and Mia and then Han's little friend are fighting the guys in Tokyo, and then you have the scene where Dom stays to fight those guys. And to be honest with you, that was actually a clever fight. And I mean, granted, we've seen the strength of Dom in the past films, but I feel like that scene where he was fighting all those guys and he sacrificed himself to drown himself, like that's a powerful scene. So I love the action, but then also the car stunts, absolutely phenomenal. Probably some of the best car stunts I've ever seen. As you have a car swinging like Tarzan, and then you also have like cars that are magnets, which is another crazy thing that happens. It's just it's so good. And then also the characters are of course likable. Tej and Roman Pierce, they of course get on the action, which was something I wasn't really expecting because they're not those people that technically get in on the action. They're more of those people that, technically do the technology stuff, kind of like Ramses does. But yeah, I was very surprised what they did with them. But then also like the quote that he said at the beginning, he was like, "Hey, we come in peace." I don't know how to do the heart thing. He's like, "Hey, we come in peace." Like that was the funniest scene ever. Like he's just so funny, and then like the scenario where he's asking like, we've done all these crazy things. Yes, Mom, I did miss The Rock because that's kind of what made this whole franchise the best thing. Because as once they became an action franchise and they brought The Rock in, like that's what made the franchise kind of pop. Because he's interesting, he works as the general, and he just works as the leader and just the enemy and the friend to this crew. So I really like Rock, but I hopefully he comes in 10 and 11. So that's something I got to make sure about. But then also, I also love how, yes, John Cena does not work as Dom's brother, which we'll get into that when we get to the bad. But I also really liked the way how they kind of gave every character something to do. Like I would say the character that gets the best moment, like the best funny moment, is the scene where Ramses she doesn't know how to drive, and then it's undercut where she actually does that huge car stunt where she puts the car into the truck, and like that's an awesome scene. That has some great character moments. So I loved that scene. But I basically talked about everything that I liked about the movie, but now let's talk about the bad. And to be honest with you, I feel like the whole mix of dumb action, I feel like that they kind of did a little bit too much. Now, granted, it's definitely a good movie, but I feel like they did too much, and that's kind of what dragged me a little bit out of the movie. And then speaking of John Cena as Jacob Toretto, Dom's brother, I did not like him as this super spy terrorist. He does not work. He just his story is just not convincing of why he killed his father. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like in the trailers, it seemed like he was gonna be like the Winter Soldier, where they were gonna show like him doing spy missions, and they were gonna show like backstories on that. They didn't, but it would have been cool to see. But yeah, that's really I gotta say. And then also when they reveal why how Han got brought back from the dead, it was kind of predictable because he obviously had to come back. He obviously had to find some way to come back. But yeah, so I did not like the choice that they made with that. It was just predictable, so I didn't like it that much. Uh, and then also when all the characters go on their side quests, it also feels like, and that's going back to the same thing. Like I feel like that they just did too much in the movie. Now that's not a bad thing because I love the way that they've done these movies, but it's just too much. So that's why it's a little bit lower on my list. All right, so that's it for my F9 review. But now let's talk about. I'm going to do my Fast and Furious ranking. Fast and Furious ranking. All right. So basically how this is going to work is I'm just going to talk about the movies. So coming in number 10, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. It's in last place because I haven't seen it. So once I see it, I will talk about it. Number 9 is where the list begins. So number 9 is Too Fast, Too Furious. I believe I talked about this least in my least favorite movies. Sorry, my sister was calling me. She forgot I was doing a live stream. Well, you know how people are. Anyways, yes, Mom. Gabby, my sister is loud. So number 9 is number 9 is Too Fast, Too Furious. I believe I talked about this in my least favorite movies of all time video, but it's definitely my least favorite film of this franchise. And the reason for that was because I just did not like the movie that much. Now obviously I put it a little bit higher on the tier list because I think that the best thing about the movie is of course some car stunts that I remember and the relationship between Roman Pierce and Brian, and then of course introducing Tej. I thought those characters were fun, but everything else I don't really remember the movie that much because I haven't seen it since 2 years ago. But that's really all I can say. And it's also kind of boring because you don't really have the characters that we saw in the original film, so that kind of makes it meh. Number 8 is Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious 4, by the way. So this movie, I think that there's things in the movie that I think had some great setups for, especially with Dom and with like Dom still on the run, and with Mia and stuff. And then you also have Brian, which is now an FBI agent, which to me I thought that was actually kind of cool, which also kind of started this action genre of films. But overall, it was kind of a confusing film because the story was just kind of weird. Obviously, with the characters that they introduced with Braga and Gal Gadot's character as Giselle, I obviously thought she was amazing. But the way the story played, I just didn't like as much. So it was a little bit weird, but there are some stuff I really do enjoy. Um, Number 7 is The Fate of the Furious. So this is technically one of my mom and dad's favorites, Well, my mom loves this movie because of the scene with Deckard Shaw and the baby. Of course, it's an amazing scene, but and of course the action sequences. This is basically the pinnacle of dumb fun movies, and I truly agree with all of you that love this movie. I personally agree. And like the action, the car stunts. Honestly, the car stunts in this movie I didn't think were that good. I just don't think it landed as much. But uh, I thought that the movie was fun. It was funny, especially the relationship between not Dom, between Shaw and Hobbs. I thought that they had great chemistry with one another as they were bickering back and forth, which also set up Hobbs and Shaw in the future in 2019. So I thought that was great. Uh, but I just never really liked that Dom had to go against his family. The theme of it is cool since this franchise is all about family, but I just never really liked it when he turned against his family. It never really made sense. And then Cypher, played by Charlize Theron, I guess you can say that she was a great villain. I don't know. Probably not. But that's my thoughts on Fate of the Furious. Number 6 is The Fast and the Furious, the first film in the franchise. It's a fine movie. It's definitely not the worst movie in the world, but it's not the greatest movie in the world. But it is a good movie. Obviously, the characters and the car racing is, of course, pretty good. All the characters pretty much have these arcs that go throughout the film series. There's not much I can really say from that. Coming in number 5 for me is F9, newest edition. I'm not really going to talk about it again because I already talked about it. So um, let's just move on because you already know my thoughts on it. Number 4 is Furious 7, another great addition to this franchise. Well, not great because it does have some issues. The action is, of course, fantastic. The car stunts, when cars are getting destroyed, I honestly thought it was amazing. And like the scene with Hobbs and Shaw fighting each other, I thought that scene was amazing. And just all the action sequences and car stunts and the characters were just all funny and good. But I do have some issues though. Then of course you also have the the memorial to Paul Walker as it closes out his legacy. I loved the way they did it, and it's such a rewatchable scene, and it's kind of sad, but still, this is still a very good film. But it does have some issues though, because Paul Walker died, they needed to do some rerunning, and then also I wish they had Hobbs in the movie more. Like I kind of wish they did because obviously he has an amazing scene where he fights Shaw and then he comes back as the cavalry in the end. But I don't think he was used well in this film. And then also, um, I feel like that when specific characters were fighting, they they had they the characters need to be weak. Some characters need to be powerful. Like it was just kind of weird the way they did the action, but the action was good, by the way. But the way that their power levels worked, I just didn't like it. But that's my thoughts on Furious 7. And in third place is Fast and Furious 6. This is probably the film that introduces the dumbness, where it basically is kind of like Fast Five, where it has this government storyline about these guys using this bomb to destroy an entire city or something like that. They have to go save them. But the story you don't really care about in this film because you technically care about the action. You care about the characters that are going on throughout the movie, and then of course you actually. First off, let's talk about the car stunts. There's literally a scene where the people have to fight a tank, like which is just out of this world. And then you also have kind of emotions as um Letty comes back from the dead, and her mind is kind of messed up. So that's kind of personal for Dom. And then probably the best scene of the entire film is where Vin Diesel and The Rock team up to fight bad guys, and it's just a great scene because Dom was just fighting by himself. Speaking of out of this world, what do you mean? I don't understand. But I'll get back to that later. But yeah, well, if you're wondering, oh, yeah, they did. Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's a good joke. Um, well, I mean, it's not technically a joke because they did actually go to outer space, but yeah. Um, but yeah, so they like the action, and then of course, like this is just Fast and Furious 6 is just a great film. It's not a top tier film for me because when it gets to kind of like the section of like uh Tej and The Rock like working together, I just never really found that convening. And the story of this movie, I actually don't really like as much. Like, and I'm not just saying that because I'm just saying that. I'm like, I literally, I kind of mean it because it feels like that they're just explaining the plot of what they're going to be doing, and they don't really do it. So that's kind of the issue with the film. Number two is Hobbs and Shaw. Now, this is probably the dumbest and funnest movie of this entire list. First off, the hang on. Sorry, I heard something. I thought they were trying to get my attention, but whatever. So, Hobbs and Shaw, one of the best Fast and Furious films. It definitely really works. First off, the interactions between Hobbs and Shaw, I just loved their interactions. Like, there's like all of them, their interactions, their bickering back and forth, their banter is just so funny. And there's literally a scene where they're thinking about teaming up, and he's like, "Your face is like seeing you is like dragging my like." The Rock says this. He's like, "Seeing you is like dragging my balls across broken glass, and it hurts." And it's just the humor is just so funny, and then of course the action is also really good. Uh, Vanessa Kirby as Shaw's sister, I also liked. Uh, and then Brixton, Idris Elba, I also thought he was a very good villain. So really, the whole movie is just great, and the car stunts even crazier than ever. So I loved this movie. But coming in first place is Fast Five. Now, the reason why this movie works so well is because now, granted, the story is very simple. As you have this. It's basically like a heist film where these characters that you've seen throughout this whole series, uh, they're basically they're basically have this story where they're trying to steal a vault full of money, which to me is a very simple plot line, which creates some awesome dumb scenarios, which I love. But the core of the film is that the characters are moving. Like you actually kind of care for the characters in the film. The action is of course fantastic. Like all the action sequences are all memorable. Whether it's the train heist, the the fight between Vin Diesel and The Rock, which is just I love that fight. It's so brutal. Because you think that's probably like one of the most dream come true fights of all time, but technically, as a film for this franchise, it's technically you know for this movie. Uh, and then also just like there's just some great emotions, great action sequences, some great car stunts, and just some crazy stuff all around. So I loved Fast Five, and that's why it's my favorite film of the Fast and Furious franchise. So now we're gonna move on to my good on paper review. No, actually, let me do that. No, wait. Dang, we're in this for we have been in here for 48 minutes, which is crazy. So I believe we're gonna be reviewing Disney. Okay, so I did some Disney reviews, good on paper review, F9 review, Fast and Furious ranking, and now we're gonna do um the Ice Road review and Danger Force, and then False Positive. Okay, so the Ice Road review. All right, so now we're reviewing the Ice Road. No, I did not love this movie. It was a complete waste of time. Now, I'm not gonna say that you should not watch this movie this weekend or this week, for that matter. But I'm just saying, this is a bad film. As a Liam Neeson thriller, I haven't seen any of them. But I have seen half of Taken, but I haven't seen it. So I can't really judge it. But the movie's just so boring, and like the story and the characters, like everything about the film is just terrible. So yeah, so I didn't love this movie for me. Um so now we're gonna go to review Danger Force. Danger Force episode 2023 review. All right. So Danger Force episode 23 review. I think it's a great movie. Sorry, I've been on this stream for 42 minutes. You can't blame me. Like Henry Danger, better Jess. What? Like Henry Danger, better Jess. What? I don't understand that. But the episode 23 of Danger Force, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I enjoyed the I enjoyed the episode. I thought that it was kind of clever. It does a lot of funny jokes in the episode. And like the plot, like there's a lot of funny jokes in the episode where you have all these scenarios. Just go watch it for yourself. But I thought it was a pretty fun episode. I will be ranking the Danger Force episodes when the 26th one comes out. Just be aware of that. But that's really all I gotta say for this one. I don't really have any specific problems with it, but yeah, but it's a good episode. All right, and the last thing we're gonna be talking about in this stream is false positive. All right. So this is the last thing on this list that I'll be talking about in this stream, and then I'll be ending it. I thought I was going to be like an hour into it, but wait. Let me fix it. And closing. All right. So if you don't know what false positive is basically it's episode, a movie about this girl that keeps having babies, and she's like having like periods, and she's like bleeding and stuff. And to be honest with you, I thought that the story was kind of cool. It had some pretty good emotions. It had something that a mother would go through as having a child. But I don't think it did anything. I don't think it did anything that certified my emotions or anything. So for me, it was just a fine movie. I don't really know what much to say because it was mostly kind of quiet. The score is pretty fantastic, but it's just an okay film. So for me, that's my thoughts on False Positive, and that's the end of this live stream. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram is Marvel6. My TikTok name is Marvel1Fan. If you guys don't understand those names, head to my back so you can find me on all social medias. I'm also on Letterboxd. It's the same name as my Instagram, Marvel_6_. And I'll see you guys in the next video because this is a live stream. So technically, I'll be ending it as soon as I stop talking. But so technically, it will be a video, but it's technically a live stream right now. But bye. Oh, wait. I actually want to edit something first. All right. Bye, guys.